my deepest condolences to anyone who believes they have a family member missing in the northern Straits of Florida right now involved in this case. And I'll proceed with some facts. Yesterday at about 8 in the morning, a commercial mariner notified the Sector Miami Command Center that they had located a capsized 25-foot vessel about 40 miles east of Fort Pierce, Florida. That Good Samaritan, again, who's a commercial tug and barge, stopped and rescued a person off of the hull of that vessel and kept him on board while he waited for a Coast Guard vessel who retrieved the person and transferred them ashore for medical care. The survivor reported leaving Bimini Saturday evening with 39 other people on board the vessel. The vessel capsized shortly after they departed due to severe weather in the area. The survivor was not wearing a life jacket and reported that no one else on board was wearing a life jacket. The survivor's condition is stable. So once we received initial notification of this case, the Coast Guard, along with federal, state, and local partners, initiated a search involving multiple Coast Guard and Navy aircraft and Coast Guard cutters, as well as other surface assets from partner agencies. Crews have been searching throughout yesterday and throughout the night. We did recover one deceased body who will be transferred ashore today in Fort Pierce, and we continue to search for other survivors. So far, we searched an area roughly 7,500 nautical miles, which for reference is about the size of the state of New Jersey. Search conditions today are very good. The aircraft is reporting some debris fields, which we are investigating again in the hopes that we find other victims who we can recover as survivors. We do suspect that this is a case of human smuggling. This event occurred in a normal route for human smuggling from the Bahamas into the southeast U.S. Homeland Security Investigations is leading the investigation of the facts and backgrounds into that component of this case. My focus remains on search and rescue. We'll focus our efforts throughout the day on continuing the search for survivors in this particular case. And again, my deepest condolences go out to the families of anyone who may be missing in this particular case. Thank you.
Can we talk about the Good Samaritan, who that Good Samaritan was?
Yes, ma'am. So it was a commercial tug and barge on a normal route heading into Jacksonville, Florida. We often rely on sometimes heroic acts of Good Samaritans operating in the marine environment, and this case is no exception. We're deeply grateful that mariner located the survivor in this case and saved his life, and then called us so that we could continue to search for survivors.
Can we get a name of that person or their company?
I think not at this particular moment.
Do we know where these migrants, if there were migrants, where they're coming from? What citizenship are they? Are they Cuban, Haitian, Bahamas? Where are they from?
We right now are not releasing details on the one survivor, and in this case that they should call the Sector Miami Command Center, but at this time we don't have any indication of those nationalities, but we do know that they departed from Italy.
Was the survivor?
Right now we really are focused on the search efforts to find any survivors, and the makeup of who was on board is important for investigative efforts later, and certainly whoever was on the boat is the most important thing to us is to find those people.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about the body you recovered, how you found it, and a woman, a man, any details about this finding?
The aircraft vectored one of our Coast Guard cutters, the Coast Guard cutter Ibis, into what they suspected was a deceased body, and it in fact was. Beyond that, I think we'll respect the privacy and dignity of that individual until he's notified, identified that and notified their next of kin.
Yes, you mentioned that this was a common group for human smuggling. Can you talk to us a little bit about that journey, the
the waters in the northern Florida Straits can be quite treacherous. And while for many, many recreational boaters here in South Florida, the transit between points in South Florida and points in the Bahamas can be quick and easy, in cases like this, small vessels, overloaded, inexperienced operators at night in bad weather is incredibly dangerous.
How far from the capsized vessel was the body recovered?
I don't have this information, that information.
We can get back to you with that later, sir.
And the surviving victim, was that the captain?
Again, I think he's being interviewed by our partners at Homeland Security Investigations, and that really is a component of the investigative side.
Have you have any belongings in the boat that would lead you to believe that there are in fact 38 people and for what the survivors are?
The aircraft have reported items in the debris field that's consistent with a number of people being on the vessel, and we are focusing our search efforts under the assumption that there were 39 at the time, other people that went into the water, and we really are focused on identifying, on searching and finding as many of those people as we can.
Can you tell us about the capsized vessel? What type of vessel was this? And was there any indications as to how it was rigged up that this was being used for smuggling?
So when we received the report, our focus was on getting the survivor immediately back to shore for a higher level of medical care. The vessel, we were not able to recover to right the boat and really conduct any investigation. Honestly, we marked it as a hazardous navigation and really focused on the life-saving and search and rescue efforts, focused on the people. So we didn't conduct any investigation or inquiry into the vessel.
So that vessel's still out there in the water?
Yes.
You have nearly a dozen crews of female that practically that's involved in the search and rescue right now. Can you just explain a little more about the nature of the search and what exactly is going on?
Absolutely. In the building behind you is the Sector Mining Command Center, which is using every bit of available information about the vessel, about what we know, about how people drift in the water, the prevailing weather conditions, the capability of the assets. And I can tell you that every member of every crew of the assets involved in the search are singularly focused on locating survivors and finding additional information that can help direct our search.
And this happened on Sunday, but today's now Wednesday. Realistically, I mean, how long will people survive the water?
Realistically, it depends on the person. What we understand of the event, the vessel capsized because of prevailing weather conditions and the loading of the vessel. Without life jackets, anyone is disadvantaged to survive in the water. Life jackets save lives, no matter what the circumstance. We continue, right? We've got multiple aircraft up today, 3 Coast Guard cutters, multiple crews out there focusing the search effort, again, being directed by the Sector Mining Command Center to find people as quickly as possible. But it is dire. The longer they remain in the water without food, without water, exposed to the marine environment, the sun, the sea conditions, it is every moment that passes, it becomes much more dire and unlikely that anyone can survive.
All right, last question.
Are you working with any foreign governments on this, the Bahamas, the real Bahamas?
Right now, the search and rescue effort is a U.S.-led effort. Because of where this is located, it is a joint interagency effort, as it always is. Our interagency relationships in South Florida are incredibly close at the federal, state, county, and municipal level. This is an issue that impacts us regionally in South Florida. There's 700 individuals. I mean, in the last fiscal year alone, we had 700 individuals who suspectedly smuggled into various points throughout South Florida. So while this particular case is all U.S., there have been other cases that have involved the other countries.
All right. Yep. Last question.
How long are you prepared to search, and have you seen just more cases of smuggling lately?
honestly, we're using every piece of information we can to make sure that we are exhausting our search efforts. But we can't search forever, and there does come a point where, as the authority who makes a determination to suspend active searching, I have to make that tough decision to bring assets home and stop actively searching. We continue to leave cases open in incidents like this, where if we gather additional information, if there are sightings, we can always go back and continue to search. Those are difficult and complex decisions, understanding there are human lives at stake and there are loved ones, potentially very many of them, who are concerned about family members in this particular case. So it's complex. Right now, we're going to continue to search throughout the day, reevaluate, and we'll continue to do that every step of the way.
And throughout the day, how many? The assets again. Just to repeat
So
the assets
the list of the
throughout the day.
assets are on the press release that went out last night, and we will continue to update that on Facebook. Captain Meridian has to get back
Thank
and
you.
make sure
Thank you
that.
so much.
If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to get with me afterwards. I will give you as many answers as I can, as well as take your questions to get your answers. If you would like an interview in Spanish, Petty Officer